I started drinking something every morning for 7 days. By day 4, my energy was noticeably higher. By day 7, I could see more definition in my midsection. And here's what caught me off guard. I wasn't eating less. I wasn't training harder. I was actually eating more of certain foods. What I discovered is that this isn't about a supplement or a gimmick. This is about specific compounds that research shows can influence 3 critical systems in your body: your stem cells, your cellular cleanup machinery, and your fat burning capacity. And if you're over 40, or if you've spent decades dealing with metabolic wear and tear, what I'm about to show you becomes even more important, because the science tells us something surprising. The right compounds, consumed at the right time, can support your body's natural regenerative processes and shift your metabolism from storage mode to burning mode. Let me show you exactly what the research says and what you can actually do with this information. Let's start with what's actually happening inside your body right now. By the time you reach 40, your cells have undergone decades of metabolic stress, insulin spikes, inflammation, oxidative damage. It accumulates, and 3 specific systems begin to slow down. First, your stem cells. These are your body's repair network. You were born with about 75 million stem cells left over from development. They're stored in your bone marrow, your organs, your skin, even inside your body fat. Throughout your life, these stem cells get called out to help repair you from the inside out. We regenerate continuously. It's just slow. Your liver can regrow. Your lungs can regrow. Parts of your brain can regenerate. But here's what happens with age. Stem cells don't die, they become less active. Their regenerative capacity declines. Research from Columbia Stem Cell Initiative found that chronic inflammation in bone marrow impairs stem cell function in older mice. The key word there, impaired, not destroys. When we talk about supporting stem cells, we're not talking about regrowing them. We're talking about protecting their function, potentially activating dormant cells and creating an environment where they work more efficiently. Second, autophagy. This is your cellular cleanup system. The word literally means self-eating. When cells accumulate damage, old proteins, dysfunctional organelles, metabolic waste, autophagy recycles them so new, healthy components can form. Think of it like a cleanup crew going through your cells, identifying junk, breaking it down, and repurposing the materials. A study on clinicaltrials.gov titled "Time Course for Fasting-Induced Autophagy in Humans" showed that when cells accumulate damage, their mitochondria become sluggish, insulin sensitivity drops, and fat cells become more sticky, meaning it's harder to mobilize stored fat for fuel. By activating autophagy, you clean the system. You make way for renewed function. Third, your mitochondria. These are your cellular power plants. They convert the food you eat into ATP, the energy currency every cell uses. When mitochondria are healthy and numerous, they burn fat efficiently, especially deeper visceral fat. Insulin sensitivity improved. Metabolic flexibility returns. But when mitochondria dysfunction through aging, poor diet, inflammation, they can't generate energy effectively. Fat burning slows. You shift into storage mode. Now here's what matters. Certain compounds found in foods and drinks have been studied for their effects on these 3 systems. The evidence varies. Some is strong, some is preliminary, but the mechanisms are real. And that's what we're going to examine today. What the science actually shows, where the evidence is solid, where it's speculative, and what you can practically do with this information. Let's go deeper into how specific compounds can influence these cellular systems. Autophagy activation. Autophagy isn't constantly running. It gets triggered by specific signals, primarily by fasting, but also by certain compounds. The compounds we're most interested in are polyphenols. These include curcumin from turmeric, quercetin from various plants, and hydroxytyrosol from olive oil. A 2025 study published by researchers at Loma Linda University and others found that polyphenols like quercetin, resveratrol, and curcumin possess autophagy-inducing properties. Another review from 2014, published in Nature, showed that natural polyphenols can trigger autophagy in human cells, particularly in cancer cells where autophagy can lead to cell death. These polyphenols activate signaling pathways involving SIRT1, AMPK, and mTOR. These are upstream regulators. Think of them as master switches that control cellular maintenance, stress response, and metabolism. When activated, they tell your cells, time to clean up, recycle the damaged parts, prepare for renewal. Now let's be precise about what stem cell support means. Research from USC Stem Cell Initiative found that cycles of prolonged fasting in humans and mice lowered white blood cell counts and triggered stem cell regeneration of immune cells. The Columbia team found that after a 24-hour fast followed by refeeding, older blood blood stem cells' regenerative capacity improved to nearly the level of young ones. This is important. The stem cell effects we have solid evidence for come from fasting and refeeding cycles, not from beverages alone. However, and here's where it gets interesting, some compounds may act as calorie restriction mimetics. They activate some of the same pathways that fasting does without requiring a full fast. Research on NAD+ precursors like nicotinamide riboside shows promise in animal studies for improving stem cell function. A 2023 study published in PMC found that nicotinamide riboside improved stemness markers in human adipose-derived stem cells, in vitro, meaning in cell culture. The polyphenols we mentioned, particularly those in olive oil, have been shown to influence stem cell differentiation, shifting them away from creating new fat cells and towards tissue repair. But here's a little concern. Bioavailability, how much of these compounds actually reaches your tissues in active form, is a major challenge. Now let's talk about green tea catechins, especially EGCG, have been extensively studied. A 2024 systematic review and meta-analysis found that green tea catechin supplementation, particularly when combined with exercise, produced modest but statistically significant weight loss, approximately 0.5 to 1.5 kilograms over 12 weeks. The mechanism involves thermogenesis, heat production, which increases energy expenditure. EGCG also appears to activate brown adipose tissue, or brown fat. Brown fat is different from white fat. White fat stores energy. Brown fat burns energy to generate heat. When activated, brown fat can increase your metabolic rate and pull energy from white fat stores. A 2024 systematic review on brown adipose tissue found that cold exposure reliably activates BAT in humans, increasing energy expenditure and fat oxidation. Some compounds, including catechins from tea, may produce similar, though more modest effects. The polyphenols we're discussing also support mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria. They activate pathways involving PGC1 alpha, NRF1, and TFAM, which are key regulators of mitochondrial production. When you combine polyphenol-rich compounds from olive oil, turmeric, quercetin sources, a fasted state, morning before eating, proper hydration, supportive lifestyle factors, you create conditions where these three systems, autophagy, stem cell function, and metabolic activity, may work more efficiently. The drink we're going to discuss is designed to leverage these mechanisms. Now let's get practical. Here's the morning drink formula presented with the scientific context. The recipe. You'll need 12 to 16 ounces of high-quality water, reverse osmosis or spring water, warm or room temperature, 1 tablespoon of high-quality extra virgin olive oil, 1 tablespoon of collagen peptide powder, half a teaspoon of turmeric extract standardized for curcumin, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, half a teaspoon of quercetin-rich extract, a pinch of high-quality sea salt. Why these ingredients? Olive oil. High-quality extra virgin olive oil contains hydroxytyrosol and other polyphenols. These compounds can influence stem cell differentiation away from fat storage and towards tissue repair. They also support autophagy and reduce inflammation. One critical note, many olive oils on the market are rancid or cut with seed oils. Quality matters here. Look for oils that are fresh pressed, stored properly, and from reputable sources.
Collagen peptides. These provide amino acids, particularly glycine and proline, that support tissue structure. While not directly related to autophagy or stem cells, they provide building blocks your body needs during repair. Turmeric extract. Curcumin. This polyphenol has been extensively studied for autophagy activation and anti-inflammatory effects. The challenge is bioavailability. Curcumin is poorly absorbed. Taking it with fat from the olive oil may help. Cinnamon contains polyphenols and has been studied for blood sugar regulation. It may support insulin sensitivity. Quercetin, a flavonoid polyphenol found in various plants. Research shows it can modulate autophagy pathways and has antioxidant properties. Sea salt provides minerals and electrolytes, particularly important when consuming this in a fasted state. The timing strategy. Consume this drink within 10 minutes of waking before any food. Why? You're extending the fasted state you were in during sleep. Your insulin levels are low. Your body is primed for fat oxidation rather than storage. After consuming the drink, wait at least 30 to 45 minutes before your first meal. If you want to extend the fasting window until lunch, that's fine. You'll potentially amplify the autophagy and fat oxidation effects. The concept here is calorie restriction mimetics. The polyphenols in this drink activate some of the same pathways as fasting, lowering IGF-1, modulating mTOR, activating AMPK, without providing significant calories. Though I should note, the tablespoon of olive oil does provide about 120 calories. Some argue this breaks a fast, others argue the metabolic benefits of the polyphenols outweigh this. The research here isn't definitive. Preparation. Mix all ingredients in your water. Stir well. The olive oil won't fully integrate, but that's fine. Consume the entire mixture within 10 to 5 minutes. This drink is one element, not the only element, of metabolic health. For best results, combine with quality sleep, 7 to 9 hours. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, which supports tissue repair and metabolic function. Sleep deprivation impairs insulin sensitivity and disrupts hunger hormones. Light movement. After consuming the drink, go for a 10 to 20 minute walk. Movement activates autophagy, supports mitochondrial function, and enhances fat oxidation. Hydration. Drink high-quality water throughout the day. Hydration itself activates metabolism. When you drink cold water, your body expends energy warming it to core temperature. A modest but real thermogenic effect. Whole food diet. Focus on nutrient-dense, minimally processed foods. No amount of morning drink will overcome a diet high in refined carbohydrates, seed oils, and ultra-processed foods. What to avoid? After consuming this drink and during your fasting window, seed oils, these are highly inflammatory. Canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, cottonseed oil, safflower oil, grapeseed oil, or sunflower oil. They interfere with the autophagy and anti-inflammatory effects you're trying to achieve. Artificial sweeteners, these can trigger insulin responses despite having no calories, potentially blunting the fasted state benefits. Heavy refined carbohydrates as your first meal. When you do break your fast, prioritize protein and healthy fats first, then add complex carbohydrates. This supports better blood sugar control. Excessive alcohol. Alcohol impairs autophagy, disrupts sleep, increases inflammation, and interferes with fat metabolism. If you drink, do so in moderation and not close to sleep time. Customization. Individual tolerance varies. Some people tolerate turmeric well, others experience digestive upset. Some find the taste of olive oil challenging in this format. Start with the full recipe. If you experience any issues, adjust. Reduce turmeric to 1/4 teaspoon. Use lemon juice to make olive oil more palatable. Take turmeric in capsule form instead of mixing. Long-term consistency matters more than acute effect. The person who does this moderately well for 6 months will likely see better results than the person who does it perfectly for 2 weeks and then stops. If you want to track objectively at home, fasting glucose. Use a simple glucose meter or continuous glucose monitor. Ideal range is 70 to 90 milligrams per deciliter. If you're consistently in this range, your insulin sensitivity is likely good. Blood ketones. Use a ketone meter. Levels of 0.5 millimoles per liter or higher indicate some degree of fat oxidation and potentially autophagy activation. You don't need to be in deep ketosis. Mild elevation is sufficient. With your doctor, fasting insulin. This is one of the best markers of metabolic health. Ideal range is 3 to 6 milliunits per milliliter. Higher levels indicate insulin resistance. HbA1c. This reflects your average blood sugar over 3 months. Under 5.2% is optimal. 5.7% or higher indicates pre-diabetes. Subjective markers. Energy levels. Do you feel more consistent energy throughout the day, or are you experiencing energy crashes? Sleep quality. Are you sleeping more deeply, waking less frequently? Hunger patterns. Are you experiencing stable hunger or wild swings between ravenous and stuffed? Body composition. Take photos and measurements. The scale can be misleading. Focus on how your clothes fit and what you see in the mirror. If you don't notice dramatic effects in the first week, that's completely normal and expected. If after 30 days you notice no subjective improvements and no objective markers changes, consider, are you doing the other elements? Sleep, movement, diet quality? Are your expectations realistic? Is there an underlying metabolic issue that needs medical attention? Lifestyle synergies. Cold exposure. This has the strongest evidence for brown adipose tissue activation. Even brief cold showers, 30 seconds to 2 minutes of cold water at the end of your shower, can stimulate BAT. Regular cold exposure over weeks to months increases BAT activity and may support metabolic rate. Fasting protocols. Time-restricted eating, 16-8, where you eat within an 8-hour window, has solid human evidence for metabolic improvements. Longer fasts, 24 to 48 hours, have the strongest stem cell effects. The morning drink can be part of a time-restricted eating approach. Resistance training. This is one of the most powerful interventions for mitochondrial biogenesis. Lifting weights 2 to 3 times a week dramatically improves metabolic health, insulin sensitivity, and body composition. Muscle tissue is metabolically active. More muscle means higher resting metabolic rate and better glucose disposal. Sleep optimization. Sleep is when most cellular repair happens. Deep sleep triggers growth hormone release, supports autophagy, and allows for metabolic recovery. Prioritize consistent sleep schedule, dark, cool room, minimal blue light after sunset, no alcohol close to bedtime. Stress management. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which impairs insulin sensitivity, promotes visceral fat storage, and disrupts sleep. Practices like meditation, breathwork, time in nature, and social connection all reduce stress burden. No single intervention, not this drink, not fasting, not exercise, will transform your health in isolation, but when you stack evidence-based practices, morning metabolic drink, time-restricted eating, resistance training 2 to 3 times a week, daily movement, quality sleep, stress management, whole food diet, the cumulative effect is substantial. If you have pre-existing conditions, particularly bleeding disorders, upcoming surgery, or liver disease, talk to your doctor before adding concentrated polyphenols to your routine. Turmeric can interact with blood thinners, quercetin can interact with certain medications. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, skip this. The safety data isn't sufficient. If you have a history of eating disorders, time-restricted eating and fasting adjacent practices may not be appropriate. Focus on regular, nourishing meals first. Your body has remarkable systems for cellular maintenance, repair, and metabolic regulation. These systems decline with age and metabolic stress, but they don't disappear. The evidence is strong.
Stay healthy and stay happy. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video.